Kino Der Toten, or Theater of the Dead, is the fifth map in Call of Duty Zombies. The story of Kino begins in the early days of World War II. As Group 935 expanded its Element 115 research, they quickly ran out of money. Maxis secretly turns to the German government for funding. He breaks the founding principles of Group 935 and agrees to provide Germany with wonder weapons and a zombie army. In return, Germany provides funding for the research of Group 935 and repurposes a theater for the use of creating a zombie army. We know this theater as Kino Der Toten. At this point in our story, Maxis and Richthofen have already created the first zombie while experimenting with teleportation. The teleportation experiments fail and none of the test subjects survive. The two discover that using Element 115, they are able to reanimate the failed test subjects, creating the first zombies. The zombies initially obey basic commands, but soon become rabid and must be put down. Despite this setback, Maxis believes that he can still create the zombie army. This is where the theater becomes important in the zombie storyline. The primary goal of the theater was to create a compliant zombie army. Maxis believes that by using the projector, he could break through their subconscious and reprogram them to obey. It was at this facility that Group 935 also discovered how to create its Element 115 infused elixirs, or perks, as we know them. Maxis works at this facility for years trying to perfect the programming technique of the undead. He has a breakthrough with one subject and feels that the programming has taken hold. At last, he feels that he has been successful. That is until a fire alarm goes off inside the theater. The flashing lights and loud sounds of the alarm break the programming and the zombie attacks. Maxis continues working on this research until the close of World War II. With the war over and no need for a zombie army, Maxis returns to Doris to continue his teleportation research. Richthofen also returns to the giant facility, bringing Samantha and his frozen test subjects. The events of Doris occur in which Richthofen traps Maxis, Samantha, and Fluffy inside the teleporter and turns it on without knowing where they will end up. He thinks that he has beaten Maxis and travels to the moon only to find Samantha inside the MPD. This was his goal all along, to use the power of the MPD to reach Agartha. Samantha goes berserk and unleashes a zombie outbreak on the moon and back at the giant facility. Richthofen is forced to flee back to Earth. Now back at Doris, Richthofen awakens his test subjects and travels to Shinonuma to retrieve his diary. After recovering his diary, Richthofen devises a new plan. He intends to swap souls with Samantha, allowing him to take control of the MPD and finally achieving his goal of reaching Agartha. Now with a plan to defeat Samantha, they return to Doris. And as they stand on the teleporter, the Wunderwaffe DG2 overloads the teleporter. This causes two things to happen. First, Richthofen drops his diary. Second, the crew is teleported through space and time, 18 years into the future. This marks the first time teleportation has happened in the zombie storyline. This breach of space and time forms temporal rifts across different dimensions. This fracturing of space and time alerts a powerful godlike figure in the story called Dr. Monty. He notices this fracturing and begins to offer small nudges to move the events in the correct direction. He reaches through the temporal rift and helps Group 935 develop the Juggernog Double Tap Speed Cola and Quick Revive perks. He's also the one responsible for the chalk outlines at Kino and all of the other maps. Richthofen and his crew fight off the undead inside the theater. As they make their way through the theater, they discover the old recordings and projector that Maxis used to brainwash the zombies. Richthofen and his crew discover a lunar lander that has been stashed somewhere inside the theater. They use the lunar lander to escape the Kino facility and fly to a Russian cosmodrome known to us as Ascension. And that, my friends, is the story of Kino Der Toten.